We made it, everybody. Happy Friday, and welcome back inside the lab that is the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, your source for degenerate gambling news and fantasy breakdowns. Today, we're hitting you with some looks at the trade deadline. It's only 6 or 7 weeks away. We're breaking down what top pieces could use a trade, big time bets, of course, and all the fantasy news you need in between. Thank you for joining us. Let's get this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. We made it, everybody. It's the Friday edition. It's been another wild week in the NHL, and things are only going to continue to heat up as we push toward the playoff mark. And that includes taking a look at the trade deadline. There are a lot of names already out there on this trade bait board. Steele and I are going to have a look at this from a fantasy angle and break down which players could potentially have their fantasy value really go through the roof with a trade somewhere else. There's some names on this list that I think we can come to expect, some names that we've talked about before. But this, again, I'm always trying to highlight these situations, Steele, where you can pounce and really make the difference for your team down the stretch. Thank you for making us your first listen every single day. We are here Monday through Friday, bringing you that fire fantasy content. Steele, we got big time bets coming up at the end of the show. It's only a mini 3-game board.
Yeah.
Today we're keeping things short and sweet for all the listeners out there. Hit me with what you're looking at with some of these trade bait targets, Steele, because yes, I think we're going to have some of the same ones, but really all that matters for the listeners out there is if you can go out there and acquire one of these players at the right time and they get traded to a contender or a big-time opportunity, that could take your team over the top in this second half.
Yeah, this is the early take edition of the NHL trade deadline. We've already started prepping a little bit on the Locked On Podcast Network coming March 3rd for the NHL trade deadline.
Yes,
and
sir.
I've got a big name right off the bat. It's Timo Meier of the San Jose Sharks. This is some big news as well. 24 goals, 43 points in 43 games on the season. He's second in shots on the season as well, with 198 shots on net, right behind David Pastrnak. So you know he likes to put the puck on net. He is a heavy, skilled player who scores a ton of goals and is not afraid to throw his weight around as well. He definitely throws his body and hits a ton of people every time he steps on the ice. He plays a ton of minutes. He's right in his prime right now, too. He's 26 years old. He's top 10 in fantasy points this season. And this is a guy that I think would be a great fit for any team, especially a team that is either a cup contender or on their way up to being a cup contender in the next few years. He's got $6 million on his contract right now. He's in the last year of his contract. I don't want to say it's concrete right now, but what I've seen and what I've heard is that it seems like the San Jose Sharks don't want to ink any more money into Timo Meier for the future. So it looks like it's a great possibility that he can be traded. And what better fit for me would it be for him to get traded to the Buffalo Sabres?
Whoa.
That would be a great fit for the Buffalo Sabres. They have a ton of cap space right now. They would solidify their top 6 group with Tage Thompson, Alex Tuch, and Timo Meier as the top line. Bring Jeff Skinner down, play with Dylan Cousins and Victor Olofsson. And again, they have a ton of cap. They have a ton of cap space right now. So even if this was possible, it leaves them enough room and flexibility in the offseason to go out and address the things that they do need to address, which is obviously the goaltenders in the crease right now. So if you can land a guy like Timo Meier, solidify your top 6 group because they have inked their young guns already, and then address the goalie situations later in the offseason. Because, look, they're still in the playoff race right now, but even if they make the playoffs or don't make the playoffs, start building right now and filling out the rest of your roster. A guy like Timo Meier would be a great asset, and this would be a guy that I would continue to go after, especially in every single year of fantasy drafts.
Prototypical power forward, really getting it done over the last couple of seasons and really coming into his own as an offensive piece. The reason why I literally just swapped him off this list for a D-man steal is because I think he's already so valuable that I just don't think his value is going to go up that much. Is it going to go up? Yes. It's like, it was just, for me, maybe not the point for this list, but He's right there, and it's for sure, to me, what you said about the San Jose Sharks. GM Mike Grier is ready to take this team in his direction and make it his own. I see Timo Meier going. I see Erik Karlsson going. And I also see James Reimer going. And that was a piece that almost made this list as well, because Reimer is so consistent. And say what you will, oh, Flip, I'm not going out there to get James Reimer. If he gets traded to the New York Rangers or a team in need of a backup, yes, you would consider James Reimer. So another honorable mention for me very quickly, Steele, because there are a lot of guys that I want to get to. And I do have 3 fire big-time bets for the end of the episode. We're picking up steam now. It's time to get this money. Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane, when you look at the makeup of Cap Friendly, which is a great tool for salary cap, shout out to Cap Friendly, this Chicago team is ready to turn the page. All of their contracts are seemingly up at the end of this season or next at the latest. They are going to clean house. And Jonathan Toews has had a pretty good season. 11 goals, 10 assists. Yeah, is that the old Jonathan Toews? No, but he can still be effective. And I really do think if he even slots in on, let's say, a third line of a competitor or eats some secondary power play time on a big-time team that he moves to, he's going to be valuable. And in the same vein, in the same breath, 7 goals, 20 assists for Patty Kane. Injuries have hindered him now over the past couple of weeks. He should be returning at the end of this week. I still think the hands are magic. And you mentioned the Buffalo Sabres. There's just so many good reasons for him to go to the Sabres. And now it's because they're actually winning. Before it was all just niceties and on paper. And now this team might actually be a destination that, hey, if you're Patrick Kane and you got cups and you got awards and you got medals, why not go home to a really good young team where you can be that veteran and lead some of these young pieces? Patrick Kane, Jonathan Toews, both of these guys are going to be on the move. And if you can grab them for cheap ahead of the deadline, you might be hitting the comments heavy and thanking us big time, because both of these guys can still bring it, just not as they used to.
And I like the fact that you bring up James Reimer. I'm going to get to him later in this episode. But of course, when we're talking about the NHL trade deadline, we have to talk about Patrick Kane. There's no question about that. And for me, I really want him to be traded to the New York Rangers. I want him to go to the New York Rangers.
Sabres or Rangers for me. He's going to go to the East.
That area would be great. But for me, I really want him to reconnect and reunite with the bread man. That chemistry that they had going with Chicago,
if that happens,
was magical.
That can take your team right into the money if they connect.
Yes, and that's exactly the point I made. The last point I make here with Patrick Kane is the Rangers are one piece away from being, from being that dynasty team, from taking over the league right now. And even if they have to give up a guy like Alexis Lafreniere to win right now, I'm okay with that, because Patrick Kane can take them to that next level. And Alexis Lafreniere just doesn't seem to do it right now. And even for the near future, he's had the opportunities. He just hasn't taken the most out of it. So if he's a part of a trade for Patrick Kane, I say go for it. But I really want him reconnected with the bread man.
And since we're on this topic, before we hit the break, before we hit the rest of our list and big-time bets for the rest of the episode, the New York Rangers have 4 first-round draft picks over the next 3 seasons.
Yeah.
So I could see them packaging maybe a Capo Caco, Alexis Lafreniere, and a pick, maybe all 3, maybe 1 or 2. If they get Patrick Kane, that just adds a whole other wrinkle into that offensive attack. Like you said, the combination in chemistry with Breadman is another whole thing. We got to talk about another delicious, tasty treat. That's Built Bar. It's time to get healthy, people. New year, new you, new goals. If you're looking for a delicious treat, but you don't want the fat and the calories, you know where to go. It's Built Bar. With Built, healthy is actually tasty. You know it's delicious, and you know it's good for you. Perfect for your New Year's resolution goals or what have you. What makes Built Bar so good? For starters, they're covered in my man Steele favorite 100% real chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. With flavors like churro, peanut butter, brownie, and coconut almond, there's no wonder why these are going to be your go-to before the gym, late night snack, however you like it. If Built doesn't get it done healthy, let me let you know how they do it. 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and a whopping 17 grams of protein per bar. And now, if you don't want to go to Built.com, which you still can do, you can head to your local Walmart or Sam's Club to grab a box right off the shelf. That's right. Head to the nearest Walmart today. Walk to the pharmacy section. Grab yourself a box of Built Bars. Pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or my favorite, coconut puffs. if you go to the Sam's Club, hit yourself up a 13-bar box with all the delicious flavors, brownie, butter, batter, churro. Thank us later. Make sure you go to Built.com today as well and get all the latest flavors from our friends at Built. Today's episode is brought to you by Built Bar.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Don't forget, we are free and available on all podcast platforms, including YouTube. So make sure you go hit the subscribe, hit the follow button. Flip and I appreciate all the love and all the support that you guys give us right now. We are rolling into 2023 right now. Thank you for all the support. And Flip, I try to do my best to highlight at least one player from every position on the trade bait board, I guess you could call it.
Okay.
And this is another guy that when we talk about the NHL trade deadline, we have to talk about him, the Arizona Coyotes defenseman, Jakob Chychrun.
Yep.
So far, since he's come back from injury,
so good.
He has been really good. 5 goals, 20 points in 24 games. And, if he had actually started at the beginning of the season, he might even be in the conversation for top 5 defensemen in the league right now.
Whoa.
The fact that he's a +7. Look, I've made some statements in the past about obviously the injuries that he's dealt with, that's hindered his career, but he's a very young talent on the blue line.
It's true.
And again, if he could just remain healthy, it's a possibility because of what he's doing right now on one of the lower tier teams in the league. And this is where it gets a little bit interesting for me. And I really want your take on this as well.
Okay.
If I'm the Arizona Coyotes, obviously, if you trade him, you're probably going to get a ton of return, prospects, picks, whatever you really want. Maybe not whatever you want, because we already know that they wanted Shane Pinto and some other things from the Ottawa Senators and couldn't get that done.
Initial asks were quite high, but he's now playing well.
Were quite high, but now he's playing well. You could maybe you can bring that value a little bit more up. But if I'm the Arizona Coyotes, you're in a great position for the future because either you trade him and get a ton of picks and prospects, which they really do need, or you decide to keep him for another year, and most likely you land the number 1 overall pick, Connor Bedard, and that instantly changes your franchise overnight. So they're in a really good position right now.
Yeah, for me, just how bad the Anaheim Ducks are, throw a bit of a wrinkle in the Bedard plans if you're the Arizona Coyotes. I hear you, though. The take is accurate. And when Chychrun is playing this solid also, those asks that they originally had out there are now not starting to seem as crazy as once did. 5 goals, 15 assists, 37 blocks, 35 hits, playing 22-plus minutes steal, and also 76 shots on net. You mentioned this guy can bring it with the slapper. Good shot from the point, and I think he is going to really bring a solid bit of size and skill to whatever team he goes to. Man, would I love to see him in the blue and white. I don't see it in the cards. I don't think the Leafs have the pieces to get it done. Regardless, if he goes, he's getting this done on the ragtag crew that the Arizona Coyotes employ. His skyrocket value is something to keep your eye on. He was next on my list. And Steele, we'd be remiss to not talk about a guy in Brock Boeser, because this player just looks like he needs out of Vancouver, and he might not be the only one. It's a mess in Vancouver right now, and they are going to, I think, start selling off assets at will. Bo Horvat was another one who could be on this list, but his value is already so high that it didn't make sense for a skyrocketing take. Yeah. Brock Boeser, 8 goals, 16 assists. He dealt with personal issues. He dealt with injuries. He has dealt with also not a fair shake, maybe you could say, over the last, season and a half in terms of the run out. I think Brock Boeser is going to be, if he goes to the Minnesota Wild, Steele, this is going to be a dream scenario for you as a Wild fan and for Boeser as a Burnsville, Minnesota native. Yeah, I looked that up. He's going to go to Minnesota, I think. And I would honestly, I'm high on this player when he's healthy. He can shoot the puck. Not many guys are as pure shooters. Say what you will about the rest of his game. Brock Boeser has a nasty bullet of a shot, and 8 goals is not this guy's ceiling. He goes to Minnesota. Value, skyrocket, keep your eye on Boeser.
Look, if they can get him at the right price, a late 3rd, 4th, maybe even 5th, if they can get him for the right price, I would absolutely love it. But they got to take into consideration, again, he's got to stay healthy. That's the problem with this guy's career right now.
Yes.
And that's what might hinder down the road if they were to make a trade for, or any team were to make a trade for a guy like Brock Boeser is, you just don't really know what the injury, there's going to be injuries because it just seems to follow him wherever he goes or every single season. I like the take, though. I would really like to see him back at home with the Minnesota Wild. That would be absolutely fantastic. Let's go over, though, St. Louis Blues, Vladimir Tarasenko, a guy that I am really, really high on. I love this player. I try to draft him every single season I can. And again, he's just one of those guys that I think he has so much fuel left in the tank. And if he were to get traded off this up and down roller coaster of a team for the St.
Blues are a
Louis Blues, they're an absolute mess right now. And it's just the fact that he's got 29 points and 29 points in 34 games. Look, everyone on that team is about a -10 or a -15 in the plus minus category.
It's actually true.
It's astounding to see that stat on every single player, but he's been so consistent throughout his entire career. Except obviously, you take away the 2 seasons where he was injured and he played 24 or less games, going down his career, 44 points in 64 games in his rookie season, then 73, then 74, then 75, 66, 68, career high 82 points last year after having shoulder surgery. And again, currently 29 points in 34 games. If he were to be traded, I don't care where it is, his value skyrockets.
I'm with you, pal. This is just the thing with these players that we're looking at, depending on the right situation. And again, timing is going to have to be right for you to strike in terms of acquiring these guys. Or maybe you have these pieces already on your roster and you need to be patient because all that you need is a change of scenery. And very quickly, before we go to break into big time bets, I'll wrap it up with my last player. Do you have any more players or were those
just
all
one
your
last
guys?
player, but I'll make it quick.
Perfect. John Klingberg. He wasn't on my list, but it just makes so much sense. And I can't talk about this list without talking about these guys. Look, John Klingberg is not going to be re-signed by the Anaheim Ducks. They have Troy Terry coming up. They have Trevor Zegras coming up. And has he disappointed? Yes. Has he been the veteran presence that they thought he would be? No, but he can still bring it offensively. And in the right mix, there's going to be a team sniffing around for his services. He's just that guy. He's a blue line fill-in for, a playoff free agent special. I just see him going to a winner and putting up a bunch of points down the stretch steal. He's going to get put on a really good power play unit somewhere. The Ducks are going to get a little bit of value for a wasted season from Klingberg. 5 goals, 8 assists this season. Speaking of bad plus-minus numbers, nothing even close to the Tarasenko type things. -24 for John Klingberg this season. The Ducks are just that bad. Look, he gets a lot of shots on net, 136 shots on net this season. He can still bring it in those offensive categories. He blocks some shots. He throws the body a little bit. There is still some value here, but if he gets moved to a contender, this is just a guy that you've probably already given up on. He's only 30 years old still. He goes to a winner. He's going to get a ton of points down the stretch.
I think so too, and obviously it's just a write-off season for John Klingberg and the Anaheim Ducks. Look, at the end of the day, I hope they don't get the number 1 overall pick. I really do hope it goes to the Arizona Coyotes because I think they deserve it more. Nonetheless, John Klingberg will most likely be moved at the deadline and could definitely pick him up off the waiver wire or even get him very, very cheap for a trade. My last player real quick before we get to big-time bets, we talked about it a little bit. James Reimer, San Jose Sharks. Couple goalies. I was also considering Jonas Korpisalo as well as some trade bait, but
I teed this one up nicely for you, didn't I?
Yes, you did. Very much so. So thank you for that. But this is just another player that I absolutely love. I loved his time for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Solid
Optimus
goalie.
Ryan, baby. Solid nickname. Absolutely love it. He's going to be 35 years old in March.
That
so
makes
he's
me
up
feel
there
old.
in age. But he's a fantastic, you said it yourself, he is a fantastic backup goaltender. And again, a career average of .912 save percentage, a .283 goals against average. It's not bad. It's not obviously
it's pretty good.
The best, but it's pretty good save percentage.
He's been on some bad teams too.
Exactly. You take away the Carolina Hurricanes, the 2 seasons he was there, his save percentage is a lot worse. And he's been on some pretty bad teams. So all things considered, he's had an outstanding career, especially with his time in Toronto. I know I've had some great memories of watching him play live and just playoffs as well. So I really like James Reimer. If he gets into the right consideration and the right team as a backup goaltender, I could see his value going a little bit north as well on the boards too. That's our list for the trade deadline. Look, this is just early talks. Trade deadline is still 6 to 7 weeks away, so we're gonna have a ton more content coming out on the trade deadline. But we're gonna get over to big time bets very, very soon. And this episode is also brought to you by our friends at BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting information, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds, trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from pro football to college bowl season to basketball and, of course, the NHL. We've got all at betonline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, just like this podcast right here, you can find even more on BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. And thank you once more for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Thank you for all the love and support. Make sure you go hit the subscribe, hit the follow button, and hopefully Flip and I can, make you some money this weekend, heading into the weekend.
We're trying
out here. We're doing our best to pull this. I don't know what this is right now. It's been a little bit of an up and down week for the both of us, Flip.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, I had a decent night the other night. I actually predicted the outcome. I should have bet this. I predicted a 6-2 win for the Edmonton Oilers over Anaheim, and I should have bet it down.
You would have made a killing.
I did take them on the puck line. I did take the over, so those bets hit for me, but I should have bet on the correct score. That would have been a very, very nice.
It's becoming a very popular market, though, to bet on correct scores and outcomes, especially in the NFL world.
Yes.
If you have one of those gut feelings, though, for me, it's always worth at least a $4 or a $5 wager on something crazy like that, because listen to what you're saying right here, Steele. So anyway, I'm here to feel the pain. Do you have some picks for me? Because I'm ready to ride whatever train we need to ride to get some of this money.
I have some picks for you, and you're going to love it. I'm going back to the well on this one. The team that, again, I talked about last, we were just talking about right now. I got the flip triple dip going for Friday night.
Hit me with all three.
I'm going to do that right now, baby. Oilers on the puck line against the San Jose Sharks. I talked about them 6-2 against the Ducks. It hammered out. I'm going to take them on the puck line again. Connor McDavid, Draisaitl, Zach Hyman. Those guys are putting on a show right now.
It's true.
No more needs to be said. Oilers on the puck line against the Sharks. I'm also taking the Oilers Sharks over 6.5 at -125. Another high scoring game in the Oilers' favor. That's my second pick. But the lock of the night is McDavid over 1.5 points.
Yes, sir.
It just seems like he puts up more than 2 points a game. And again, I just want to real quick list off these stats right here.
Please.
Oilers have won 5 of their last 6 meetings against the Sharks. 4 of those 6 meetings went over the number. And in 23 career games against the Sharks, McDavid has 12 goals and 30 points. All of that is trending in one direction. Bet on the Oilers.
Thank you very much, Steele. I'm liking all of those picks. Actually, you know me with the puck line. I haven't been as successful as you have, but those picks just line up. Edmonton looked good the other night. Yes, of course, we know who they're playing against, but they needed to come out and put up that number against the Ducks, and they did it. The total has gone over the number in 10 of Edmonton's last 14 games, and the total has gone over the number in 6 of their last 7 on the road, and 6 of their last 8 against San Jose, like you said. This is a total that I'll be touching. I'm taking the over as well, Steele.
Yes,
That's
sir.
my first pick of the night. And I have 2 player props to finish. This is, I've said it. My over-under picks have been what's been hitting almost every single night. If you're not going to bet anything else, bet that over tonight. Look, Mason McTavish. I know this is not a good matchup here, Steele. You're looking at this, New Jersey against Anaheim. You got to lean Anaheim or New Jersey, right? New Jersey, 4-1 in their last 5 against Anaheim. They are 15-2 in their last 17 on the road. I'm staying away from it. I still think that the Anaheim Ducks are going to get a couple of goals tonight. Mason McTavish has had a good season so far, Steele. You mentioned him as a potential second half come up. 9 goals, 17 assists for 26 points in 42 games. He's 19 years old. Yeah. I like this spot for Mason McTavish. Anytime assist. He has 3 assists in his last 4 games. I think this is a nice little spot to get some value on the team that is clearly the underdog. They're still going to get a couple of goals. I would lean New Jersey, but the Ducks are going to score a couple, and Mason McTavish has been right in the middle stirring the drink, playing with Troy Terry. I'm loving an option here for McTavish. And to wrap it up, another player prop in this Winnipeg-Pittsburgh game. I think you know who I have to go to here. number 87, Mr. Sidney
Yeah.
Crosby, anytime assist as well. And let me just dig into the old bag of research here. In 41 career regular season games for Sid the Kid, 18 goals, 41 assists in 41 games for 59 points.
Oh
This
my
guy is
God.
just an apple machine against Winnipeg for whatever reason. He's literally got one per game over the 41. Sid, anytime assists. He's got 21 goals, 27 assists, and 4 points in his last 3 games. Sid's going to continue to stay hot. Apple for the captain. That's my lock of the night.
I'm definitely betting on that because I swear to God, every single time that you bet on Sidney Crosby anytime assist, it ends up hitting. So I'm definitely
gonna
adding
hit.
that. It's gonna hit. I'm definitely adding that into this parlay
Thank you.
with my flip triple dip with the Oilers over here.
Bang.
I like all of our bets actually. I might even sprinkle on the Mason McTavish anytime assist
What?
just
Man,
to spice
it's
it
going
up
to be
a
a good
little
odd
bit.
too. You're going to get pretty good money.
Yes, definitely some juicy odds for Mason McTavish, but he definitely likes to pass the puck more than he likes to shoot the puck,
Yes,
even
he
though
does.
he's got a ton of skill. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Once again, we are available on your favorite podcast platform, which also includes YouTube. Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock in the morning Eastern time is when the episodes drop. So make sure you're tuning in. Thank you so much again for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Have a great day, a great weekend. Good luck with all your bets out there. And we shall see you back here again tomorrow.
Peace.